Hey guys, what's up? It's Wes. So, in our everlong pursuit to be a better artist, there seems to be different milestones and different, kind of level ups that we get. And at a certain level, those can start to slow down. So, what do? And I've always been on the search for something different for my art, something almost like trying to find a hidden missing ingredient. And, trying new techniques and learning new things and putting more and more and more on my plate seems to have worked okay. But then I had the realization that what if really the secret to like slingshotting, going way past where I've been before is actually to slow it down, look the other direction, and head back to the basics. So let's see what that means. Back to basics. So this has quite a few meanings, as a lot of my titles like to do. But let me just explain what you're going to see here. So I am kind of in the midst of developing a style to make smaller kind of graphic novel, comic book panel type artwork purely for storytelling. So this could be considered storyboarding or things like that. Like I need that is a muscle I have never ever used before in regards to visual art and like development of ideas and things. I've thumbnailed before and making paintings for clients or things like that. Really the end image is the goal. Like you want that to look as good as possible. But I realized I need to develop a style. If I want to say like a 5 to 10 page little short story as part of a bigger project, I need to get away from the idea that this needs to be finalized, polished paintings because, comic books and manga and stuff like that, their primary purpose is to tell story. The images are almost secondary. You know what I mean? Like they're the main catalyst and they're the driver for you to get the story and see it and experience it. But I really can't think of too many comic books where every single panel is this entire elaborate painting. Like there are some people that do some incredible work very quickly. And yeah, it's polished and looks good but it's different. Something about that seems different to me. So I needed to get away from, I'm going to, render it this way and do color splashes and all this, and then take in the painterly stuff. The way that I primarily work for my illustration side of things, I need to find a new dynamic, I guess. And that's what you're seeing here. So I did 3 little kind of, portraits, bust sort of things. These are just wild ideas of kind of a ninja, but a rogue, but also, they could still fit in kind of this medieval sense of the word. And I don't know, just stuff, right? We're just throwing stuff to the wall and seeing what sticks. So, but I had this idea of cool assassin, but they like shave their head and they're wearing something that you could kind of see maybe inspired by like an Assassin's Creed, but really like Ninja Gaiden and stuff like that. Also, this kind of looks like the enemies from Warframe, if you guys have played that or seen that at all, which I did play over the past month or so. So maybe this is kind of just seeping into the subconscious. But you're seeing me develop 3 quick, sketchy ideas in Photoshop or, in digital. And then I wanted to really test my mettle on saying back to the basics by doing some traditional art. So you're going to see me open up my watercolor sketch pad. We're going to sketch with graphite, mainly a mechanical pencil, which is always my go-to. And then we're going to use some art markers. So they're called Azure, but I think they're kind of like the same thing as like Copic markers. And we're going to have it in grayscale, and then they shift a little green and stuff, which is cool. I kind of like that about it, but they're alcohol-based markers. And really what that is to build confidence in putting down the marks, because once you mark with an alcohol marker, it's done. You know what I mean? Like it is as permanent as you can get. So I've always idolized, the Carl Kapinskis and Adrian Smith and Thomas Elliott's of the world that do their ink wash paintings and work, and it just looks outstanding. So it's my way on the digital side to kind of find something quick, something that I can repeat in a method that won't take me very long to put stuff on the page, and then maybe develop it more with traditional work and maybe use those as the main paintings for this project. You know what I mean? So kind of work in reverse, where, I'm going to sketch on some paper and then do all the big paintings digitally because it's faster. What if I worked backwards? What if I did all the sketchy stuff on the digital and then kind of had the main idea in my mind and then moved over to traditional to really make the thing happen? So that's what you're going to see. And I do apologize in advance. The webcam setup that I have for the traditional art, it's a little blurry, but it's because the webcam I'm using is a little older. So maybe in the next few months, I'll be able to upgrade that webcam. So it's a little out of focus, but not really, because the white balance is off. I don't know. We're trying new stuff, so we're working out the kinks as we go. But hopefully it'll give you an insight just of how I even hold a pencil and draw and put down marks and all that stuff. So it was a lot of fun. It was very stressful, but it's a lot of fun. But really, what this whole idea came about was driven by the want and the need to be more storytelling oriented in my artwork. Because I've always talked about, my art might be technically sound and I can render well and I understand these rules and, you study all the James Gurney in the world. But if your image is boring, or if it doesn't resonate with people in a storytelling sense, it doesn't really mean anything. So yeah, we're going back to the basics. It's like, okay, how do you tell a story with a picture? And just trying stuff. We're just putting stuff down. I'm trying to shut my super analytical brain off while I'm making it. I mean, that's what the YouTube's for, right? We can just wax poetic all day on this and it'll be fine. But really, it did come down to, I'm going to go with my gut instinct. What is going to work? What looks cool? What's interesting to look at? And how can I develop stories quickly? Because I think that's also going to help thumbnailing for my bigger illustration work. And I really started kind of peeling back the layers. And I made this realization that I was always taught and I was trained that there are two types of kind of painters or image makers, right? And this is kind of a very atelier way of looking at it. But I was always taught you can be an observational artist, meaning you do portraiture for a person sitting there, or maybe on plein air landscape painting, or still life, or life drawing, or, literally you are observing the world around you and trying to put a finalized image down of what your eyeballs are actually seeing. That way you give the experience to an audience or the viewer. What am I seeing? How do I see things? And then that's how we relate as human beings. It's like, oh, that looks exactly like that thing. Cool. Okay, we see it the same way. That's cool. It's kind of cut and dry, and it takes a lot of technical know-how. And there's, years and years of studying to get good at observational art. And then you have imaginative art. So you do that same thing, but instead of using your eyeballs, you're using your brain. You're using your imagination, and what you quote unquote see in your mind, you now have to train yourself to break that barrier between what's in your brain and what's on the paper. And I'm less skilled in that one, but I'm getting better at it. The more I'm practicing and flexing that muscle, it's less scary to just jump in, kind of like how I did here, and especially moving over to the traditional side of it. Um, it was less scary because I was like, okay, I kind of know how to make a face, so let's just do that, and then let's put stuff around it and let's see what happens. I kind of had the idea in my mind and then tried to put it down, but once it started coming to fruition, I could start tweaking it because then I could see it better. Do you know what I mean? So I was able to kind of pass that barrier. And I still have a lot of improvement that I need to do in that working style, but I feel more comfortable being in that space, if that makes sense. And then as I was looking at both of these things, I was like, well, I feel like there's another thing, but I don't know really what to call it. And I wonder if you all out there can maybe help me with this. The closest thing I can come to, so you have observational and then you have imaginative. But I feel like there's something else that only deals with the image itself and its effectiveness. So I don't know if that's design. I don't know if that's concept. I don't know really what the term would be. And it feels weird because it feels like this could also be part of the other two. Like it could be part of the ingredient list to make good observational art or good imaginative art. But it feels like I think a big level up is coming because I'm starting to put more emphasis on this third ethereal thing, whatever design or storytelling or whatever you want to call it. Like almost does it make sense for the image to be worth the hassle? Do you know what I mean? Like, sure, you can observe something and put it down, and then you might get accolades and, maybe win an award or, get hired for a job or something. And then your imaginative stuff the same way. People are like, oh, I've never seen anything like that before. That's really cool. But I think I'm starting to chase after this other thing. And while those two are methods to get to this, I think I'm still trying to come to terms with what even to call it. And it's going to be really hard to describe it. But maybe it is design. Maybe it is, for instance, I went back to basics here purely for storytelling purposes. Because it's like, okay, how can I easily, quickly tell a story that looks good? This is all in service to that project of learning kind of the storyboard element, the comic element, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, looking at other concept artists and looking at other comic book artists and pencilers and sketchers and stuff has been really interesting and kind of eye-opening because I'm seeing how they're simplifying things. And that I find that very intriguing because I like to go the other side and really, well, let's use the wet properties of this oil paint in order to get good gradient mixes. You know what I mean? I start getting so in the weeds on the dexterity of it that I think the image almost suffers because it doesn't get to live by itself. It doesn't get to be its own thing. It has to be curated. It has to be, yeah, I wonder if it's energy. I wonder if that's the thing. I wonder if it's does this feel cool to look at? And we talk about the rule of cool, but this seems almost like instead of the two types of art, this is almost a third pillar. It's like a triangle now, a trifecta. It might be energy. The more I think about it, that makes the most sense because I want the storytelling to be, very, very fun to look at. I want you to be able to look at it, but it also serves the purpose, right? So that's kind of what I'm going for here. And this was actually a lot of fun. These 3 digital ones that I did took I think for all 3 of them, I think I spent a little over 10 minutes on each of them. So it was 35 minutes to get all 3 of those down. And then I spent about 45 minutes on the traditional one with, no reference, no stuff getting in the way. It was just, can I remember how I made the sketch I like the best? And then can I make that a more traditional piece? Like, can I get the confidence back up to make decisions, to use marker? It's permanent. It's not going anywhere, and just let go, and don't be so critical on, well, I need to kind of flatten this guy's skull out a little bit because the cranium wouldn't actually go around where you can get so caught up in the weeds that it's just not interesting anymore. And I want it to be interesting. I want it to be high energy. I want it to be dynamic. I want it to be very shape focused and very focused on wanting you to want to look at it. Does that make sense? So it's almost like it's not observational. I can use some of those tools in this, but it's also not imaginative, really. I mean, it kind of is because it's coming from imagination, but it's like it needs to be tangible. This needs to be something that through and through is just kind of this enrapturing storytelling mechanism. So it's this other part that's slowly starting to wake up in my mind, in my brain, which is exciting. It's exciting, but it's also kind of nerve-wracking because I'm not any good at it. I have no practice at this. You know what I mean? So I can go and I can look at stuff all day. I can go read my, Comixology account and go look at the hundreds and hundreds of, comic books and stuff like this and try to figure out how they're telling stories. I can use my training that I had in film production and directing. I can use all that stuff, but this seems like something slightly different. And like I said, it's exciting. It is. And I still don't know what it is. I don't know what it's leading towards, but I do know it is literally starting back from square one. I've used these tools. I've learned how to observe. I've learned how to, work a little more from imagination and composition and all this other stuff. But why? Why did I learn that stuff? Why is this even a thing? Yeah, I can make money, and I'm making money doing other client work and stuff, which I adore. And, it keeps the lights on and keeps the family fed. And that's always a benefit. But really, why? And you got to go back to square one and ask yourself that fundamental question. And I think at the end of the day, every visual artist is some form of storyteller. Whether it's subtext, like you look at a painting and what does it represent to you, or, some of it could be literal, like literally, creating comic book panels and you're essentially directing a movie. So there's text, there's subtext, there's all this stuff to kind of put into a blender. So where do those skills get you? So I think it's time that I started focusing a little more on that third thing, that not observational, not imaginative, but whatever that third thing is, whether it's energy or storytelling or design or concept or whatever you want to call it. We're going to figure it out. You know what I mean? So it's an exciting place to be. But yeah, so this one, less of a, software-based one. But hey, actually, the only software you need is apparently a piece of paper and a, mechanical pencil. And you can make some cool stuff, hopefully, But we're gonna show more of that. We're gonna do some more traditional stuff. I do think it's a great way to just let it be. Put something down, and whatever's down there, make it work. And I think there's something a lot of fun in that. It reminds me of the gauntlet method that we talked about years ago. The no undo, one layer type stuff. Like there's some thrill in that. And I think that might come from the energy. Really coming back on the dynamics of it and energy and the real fun of it. But yeah, and it's a whole lot of fun. It's nerve-wracking, but it is what it is. So we're going to do it more. We're going to get more comfortable, and we're going to see where this takes us. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. I do highly recommend it. If you haven't pulled out your traditional stuff in a while, whether it's a sketchbook or, watercolors or kind of whatever you have, pull it out, even for 10 minutes. And just sketch something on a napkin, sketch something on computer paper, whatever you have. It doesn't have to be good. In fact, I don't want it to be good. Make it bad. Make it horrible. Just do it. Because I think you're going to be real happy that you did it. it's almost like lighting a new fire. It's like, oh yeah, this is kind of getting back to it, right? This reminds me of when I was 6 years old and, wanting to be Spider-Man in real life. But that's my time. Yeah, thank you so much for subscribing. And remember, we go live on YouTube and Twitch twice a week, on Wednesdays and on Saturday nights. So a lot of fun happening over there. So if you haven't already, please subscribe. We'd love to have you. And of course, all the archives are going to be here on YouTube as well. But until we meet again, go sketch some stuff, go tell some stories, make cool art, and we will see you next time. Peace.